You're listening to WVFI, Voice of the Fighting Irish. I'm Erin McAuliffe, and I'm here with Dino Swan and Maggie Walsh. And we are with our guest, Todd Rundgren, today. So we pulled...
You're around there somewhere. Okay.
There we go. We pulled a box of Todd's vinyl from our archive collection in the back. And... yeah, Todd, if you went through those really quick, if anything stuck out, if you just have like a musing you want to get over real quick.
Get it over with.
I think we don't have much time. But I actually noted, I was reading Patti Smith's review of, I think it's like the second one in there. A Wizard, a True Star, which is also like the cover art and the vinyl itself really caught my eye. And she talked about how your influences are homogenizing like a coat of many colors, and you might be pulling from someone else's paint box, but the coat is all your own. So can you like kind of speak to that and maybe that record specifically?
Well, I kind of bribed her for a good review because I included one of her poems in the package.
Okay.
We had a little, we had a couple things in that package. We had a postcard that if you sent the postcard back, you would be somehow included in the next package for the next record. And also there was a thing that looked like a Band-Aid, which had a Patti Smith poem on it.
Okay.
That I think she composed, particularly for the record. Yeah, but once I put her in the package, she had to give me a good review, didn't she?
Yeah, nice.
But me and Patti have been friends for a real long time, and have, had sort of a mutual admiration thing going. I knew her before she was a musician. She was just a poet at one point, and she used to do very interesting shows where it didn't seem like she had an actual sort of agenda. She would just start, and some of it might be reading some poems, some of it might be improvisations, which she was really good at. Then every once in a while she would get like a little record player out and put something on and sing along to it, something like that. So she wasn't really at that time she wasn't really at that time doing what everyone seems to think they know about her now.
It's funny because I read Just Kids this summer, so I had a background, and that's kind of how I was exposed to her, and that's why I kind of pulled the quote.
Yeah, but a lot of people think of her, as like a punk rock musician or something like that, and that's just kind of an incarnation of what she is.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say equally that she was a mom because she quit the music business for over a decade just to go be a mom in Michigan.
Yep.
So she's a lot of things.
For sure. Do you want to ask a question?
You've had all these incredible successes, throughout the music career and throughout your life. We weren't in the interview before, so we kind of missed out on a lot of that. But maybe if you can kind of just give our listeners, the bands and the musicians who really inspired you. Like if you were to go to, some of your fans and be like, these were my top ones who really, brought me into this world and really, kind of create a lot of these musings in which I could, go over and kind of, take maybe a little bit but make it my own thing. Who would you kind of point to?
Well, it's funny, when I was really young, my dad was a music fan, but only of particular kinds of music. He did not allow rock music in the house, but I was exposed to a lot of music, particularly stage musicals and things like that. So some of the first influences I remember are like Brecht and Weil and Gilbert and Sullivan, things like that. When I was in high school, I knew the entire Gilbert and Sullivan libretto. I could have sung any song from Gilbert and Sullivan. I can't anymore, but so those were great influences on me, and part of that was, I guess they were reverence. Both Gilbert Sullivan and Brecht and Weil were commentators on their respective cultures. And so I kind of like that idea of poking fun at the culture that you're in. But eventually, I just had to settle down and learn an instrument. I picked the guitar. But it wasn't until the Beatles came out that there was an actual formula for you to turn that into something. Because otherwise you would have been, you could have been Duane Eddy or a member of the Ventures or something like that. You'd be playing a lot of instrumental music. Yeah. And then the Beatles essentially defined a new formula. Because previous to that, you had to be like a good-looking guy who was a front man, and then there would be a bunch of faceless musicians behind you. And the Beatles' formula was, everybody knew who all four of the band members were. They were all allowed to sing, even Ringo.
To the detriment.
And look at him now. He's got a singing gig. So suddenly it was like, all I got to do is find like 3 or 4 other friends in the neighborhood, and we can put a band together. And that became the formula. Well, from then until now, more or less. Now I'm the guy in front of the band. It's gone back full circle. Now I'm the guy in front of the band. But when I was growing up, I didn't have the confidence to do that, but I did have the confidence to be the guitar player. So it all started when that, formula really became more of the norm than the old style, matinee idol kind of thing.
So we're actually all huge Beatles fans in this room, so we have a Beatles question for you.
Sure.
In 1976, you had that record Faithful, where you did a bunch of covers, and 2 of the covers were Beatles covers. One was Rain, and the other was Strawberry Fields Forever.
That's right.
And they were faithful covers. They were
pretty
they stayed faithful to the original. So I'm just wondering, what did you learn about the Beatles from covering their records?
Well, it's something that I tried to do to commemorate my having been in the business for like 10 years. So the songs that I picked for that side of Faithful were all songs that you would have heard on the radio 10 years previous. And I was such a devotee of the Beatles that when it came time to reproducing that, it turned out to be a lot easier than I thought it would be, just because I had learned a lot about production, and I'd even been to England and produced like Badfinger for Apple Records, so I had a little bit more awareness of what went into it. But the biggest challenge is like trying to do a song like Strawberry Fields Forever without paying for any session musicians, so essentially faking the sound somehow, with synthesizers that didn't exist at the time, or I think at one point I was trying to imitate a cello when I did Good Vibrations. There's this cello part that's in it, and that was just kind of a fuzzed guitar instead of a cello, and you get the sound just right, and since it's only playing one note anyway, it was easy to sort of fake that. So the challenges were really not so much dissecting the records and figuring out what was going on as, trying to dial in a particular sound that's similar to the old guitar sound, trying to make the drums sound the same.
Right. And
trying to substitute other instruments when I didn't feel like having a string section or something like that come in.
Very cool. Very cool. So kind of hit up our last question here because, we're out of time. Here at WVFI, we like to create playlists for, people to listen to. And we're on the process right now of creating like a big, this is our WVFI playlist, and we'd love to get your input. What maybe 2 or 3 songs would you say you need to put on this playlist?
That I needed to put on.
This needs to be on.
Anybody's song.
Anyone in the world.
Oh, anybody's songs. God, there's a lot of great songs. It's... What have I been listening to lately? Well, I got the new Frank Ocean record, which is pretty cool.
We're fans of that one.
Pretty cool record.
Definitely.
It's funny, I would play the first Bon Iver record. I wouldn't play the recent one, which is not...
Okay.
Just hasn't stuck with me the same way, play some Tony Bennett. He's turning 90 this year, you know, and he's still doing it. You know, he's my hero, Tony Bennett.
Very nice. I love it. Well, we want to thank you so much for taking your time to join us here at WVFI, and we really appreciate getting to talk to a rock legend in person. It's pretty insane. We want to know if you could maybe just give us a little promo call signal at the end. Maybe
sure.
Say you're listening to WVFI. WVFI.
VFI. I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah,
Okay.
Voice of the Fighting Irish.
Okay. Hi, this is Todd Rundgren, and you're listening to WVFI. Go Irish.
Thank you
so much.